Welcome you guys to the Advocate Center for this virtual open practice presented to us by our friends at American Express. Adam Amin, Stacey King, your Bulls broadcast team on television. We're so happy that we are getting closer and closer to the start of what really feels like a true brand new look lineup for this Bulls roster and a brand new season, a full season on the road, Stacey. And through a couple of moments of the preseason, it's been exciting to watch what the potential of this group is.
Well, I think they've really surprised a lot of people with the way they're playing defense. They've really done a good job these first two games, really getting after their opponents and really forcing a lot of turnovers. They're not very big. You know, that was one of the question marks coming in, Adam, is the depth at the center spot behind Vooch. But where they make up for it is energy, length, athleticism. They're able to turn teams over. I think they're averaging close to 65 points, in the first half alone. I mean, just clear blowouts to start games. And then what I'd like to see is the killer instinct to finish in the second half, which they've done that in both games.
And you got guys that have a little bit more experience now, guys like DeMar DeRozan, guys like Lonzo Ball, who played big minutes in their previous destinations late in games. It seems like this new look has gelled fairly quickly, and obviously that's the hope for the regular season as it gets closer.
Well, just listening to AK talk about the IQ of all the players that they brought in. Now, you got to remember, when you bring in this many players like the Bulls, there's going to be an adjustment period trying to fill each other out, trying to get an understanding of each other's game, and try not to step on each other's toes because each one of these guys have been go-to guys in their previous destinations. So you look at the guys, we only have three guys really returning back. That's Zach, Kobe, and Patrick Williams, of guys who were here from last year, the start of last year. Vooch came over in the second half, so I kind of consider him still new.
Right.
This is his first training camp. So, you've got a ton of new guys, and it just goes to show you that AK knew what he was talking about as far as basketball IQ. They know how to play. They're going to make it work, and I think they just surprised teams basically with the way they play defense and the way they've come out here and dismantled. Now, you got to remember the first game, they're like, oh, it was the first game. They beat a team that's young, and then they came out and did the same thing in the second game, and it was the same story. Jumped out on them early, destroyed them in that first half, took their confidence, and then finished them in the second half.
We'll get a chance to dive into some of the open practice right now with Bulls second-year assistant John Bryant mic'd up.
Defense real quick, right? And so, however, he can get to like a little three-quarter.
DHO, I'll roll.
Yeah, but let's go DHO. My man gets through, and then somehow I find you because I think you're a little guy, right? You fight with H for a little bit, I'll throw it in. You throw it back, and then we'll get three in a row. Three is on that side. Does that make sense? Yeah. You just open protect. My guy right here guarding me blows it up. Yep, here we go. They blow it up. Nothing. Fight. Square here. Square. Kick out. Three. One. Two. Nice job. Other side. Good work. I want you to pressure him. Yeah. Okay. Yes. So if you can, yes. Yep. Square. Now square. Square. Go ahead. Kick out. Three. So if I'm here, right, and I'm behind white, I swim here. And I go white. That signals pressure on the ball. If it's thrown overhead, I'm here on the backside. Over any airtime pass, I'm here. Mid coming. But say you're guarding a bigger guy, this aggressive three-quarter, they're not going to throw it in because they're going to think you're quicker than him and you can get that steal. But don't concede the pass and just sit behind. Even though I know you're strong enough to hold it, make that pass difficult.
Well, Stacey, we just heard John Bryant working with Javonte Green, and I know you're very excited about what Javonte Green brought to the table last year when he came over from Boston and what he's done in the early part of the preseason, basically taking a power forward spot in the starting lineup a couple of times.
Well, this kid's a tough kid. I mean, last year he didn't get to play early when he came over from Boston. Kind of was a throw-in in that trade, but I know the Bulls really liked him and what he brought to the table as far as defensive intensity. Just a tough kid, and he's a scorer. The funny thing about him is, is that he didn't know he was going to play a lot last year, but he did. He kept his head, kept positive, and then when he got those opportunities later in the season, he really, really made the most of it.
Get a little bit more from the practice. Paul Miller is mic'd up for us as well.
Here we go. That's 7. Eight. Here we go. Start all the way at the nail. Here we go. Good. Good, Dot. All the way at the nail, Dose. Now we're in the middle of the floor. We're doing 4 quick shots, just catch and shoot off quick. 4 pick and roll. So the guy goes under, you catch it here, you rip it the other way. So if you guys are coming this way, coming here, ripping it this way, stepping right into your shot. Yep. Quick first. Here we go. Catch and shoot. 1.
Stacey, we got a chance to hear Paul working with Devon Dotson and Ayo Dosunmu, 2 guys that are still in the developmental stages as professionals. And Billy Donovan has pretty much held over most of the coaching staff. There's a lot of continuity here, which I imagine would help some of the younger guys coming into an established system.
Well, it's so important, especially for these young guys, because Adam, as the season goes along, there's not a lot of practice time because there's so many games, and there's days where coaches say we're just not going to practice, we're going to walk through. So these early days in training camp is so important to Ayo Dotson to get as much work in. And again, you see Paul working with them and working on fundamentals. And one thing I noticed about Billy Donovan's staff from last year is that he's got them, he gives them a lot of responsibility. And to really do coaching, and that's what you like to see out of a coach, to trust his assistants, to make sure they're doing what they're supposed to do and learning the right way to do things.
All right, Stace, coming up next, you and I are going to get a chance to see inside of practice a little bit. But first, here's this message from our friends at American Express.
Come check it out.
It may not be music to your ears, but as long as it's music to theirs, bring the volume back to the venue with exclusive ticket access to unmissable events. One of the many reasons you're with Amex Platinum.
So I'm going too, right?
So a light practice after a preseason game, Stacey, typically takes place. Get your stretching, get your body right, and then you kind of go over some of the concepts. These are new additions like Lonzo Ball, Derrick Jones Jr., Alex Caruso, DeMar DeRozan, Stanley Johnson, Alize Johnson, a bunch of guys that are new to this roster. And it's not just the headliners. There's a lot of depth, but a lot of new depth that's been added to this lineup. So you get the sense that there's going to be a lot of energy and a lot of pace, and they're going to have to be very careful with stacking up that practice time like you talked about, because they're going to be running in games, I would imagine, at their best.
Well, and this is early in the season, so you're going to get a lot of your work in now. And the good thing about it is, Adam, they got a lot of veterans that's been through this. It's not going to be, where they're trying to catch up and learn. They know all this stuff. Guys like Vooch have been in the league a long time, knows how to get himself ready to play. DeMar DeRozan, all-stars. These guys know how to get themselves ready to play. It's the younger guys. It's the Alize Johnsons, it's the Patrick Williams, the Kobe Whites. Those guys are still Ayo. Those guys are still learning. And these practices are so important for those guys just to understand how to keep your body right after a game. Even though it's a light practice, you're still stretching. You're still getting in there to see the trainer. You're still doing the treatments that can keep you on the floor all season long.
What excites you when you see a player like a DeMar DeRozan who decides as a veteran he wants to come to Chicago? What does he add? What does he bring to the table other than obviously the numbers, which have been very good for a long period of time?
Well, just another all-star caliber player. You know, I mean, this guy's a 4-time All-Star. He's been to playoff games. He's hit big shots. He's well respected in this league, and he still can get it done on a nightly basis. These first 2 preseason games, he's brought an element to the Bulls that they haven't had in a long time. A wing player that can not only go get his own shot, but can handle the ball, distribute, attack from anywhere on the floor. He's got one of the best mid-range games in the NBA over the last 10 years. Both him and Kawhi Leonard are 2 of the best mid-range shooters in the game from the forward position. And then on top of it, I think he's a much better defensive player than people give him credit for. I think in other places he's been required to score more than per se defense. But I think now he realizes in order to get to the playoffs and make a deep run and get a chance for a championship, he's got to play both ends, and he's got to play both ends well.
That's something Lonzo Ball, we just saw him working there in the corner. That's something he brings to the table, too. We know he's improved as a three-point shooter, and obviously he's here to run the offense, but his defensive ability is probably opened up a lot of eyes in Bulls camp and in the preseason.
Well, I think, guys who haven't played with him are shocked. I've watched him since he came in from the Lakers. He came in with the reputation of being a defensive stopper. That was one area where he was ahead of the game as a rookie, was his on-ball defense. And he's only gotten better, and his offense now has caught up to his defense, which makes him a two-way player at the point guard position. The one thing he brings to the table is he's not a small guard. It's not like someone like 6'1", 5'10". This is a 6'6" guard that can also help you rebound the basketball, go down there and get some of those tough rebounds. He's got quick hands. They're evident in these first 2 games how many steals he's gotten. I would not be surprised this year, Adam, if he's up there in the top 5 in steals.
So Zach can come up. Who's low on that side? Yep.
Hey, our communication on that X, everyone's kind of saying a bunch of different stuff. You just got to say X, X, X. You got to say the letter X 3 times. That's all we got to say. X, X, X. We know what that is.
Are we good on that?
Make it simple.
Here we go. You ready? Go!
Boom. Great communication. Shady. Get back.
Talk it out.
Good. That's right.
Stacey, we heard Alex Caruso communicating right there, and I think this is a guy that, is going to be a fan favorite. We already got a sense for that just because of how hard he plays and the plays that he makes, but that is a glue guy, it feels like, an important piece on a lot of rosters that every roster would like to have somebody like an Alex Caruso who kind of brings things together.
Well, you listen to LeBron James, he was really disappointed that the Lakers weren't able to sign him and bring him back. He's been one of his favorites. And, those years playing with LeBron James, and you can hear it on the defensive end, talking, making it very simple, not making it complicated. Just call out X. That's all you got to call out, X, X, X. You don't need to call out, make it more difficult than what it is. And he's still a young player. It's not like you're talking about a 34-year-old veteran. This is still a young kid having the ability to show some leadership at that young age and coming over and really, imploring that with the Bulls. That's only going to help the Bulls. And he's not just people look at him maybe, it's not like we had Archie Diacono or Brian Scalabrine when the game was over. You put those guys in with the Bulls might have been winning or they might have been getting blown out. This kid is a legitimate rotational player, probably would start on a lot of teams in the NBA. So do not sleep on his athleticism. Do not sleep on his guard skills and especially his defense.
I think communication is so essential, especially last year. The Bulls were an improving defensive team. They got better as the year went on, but there were a lot of moments where you just thought, all right, it doesn't seem to be on the same page. And that's no knock on any particular player, just guys getting used to each other. With the veterans that you talked about, it seems like that communication is high, and it seems like guys gel faster because of that.
Well, and let's just be honest. This is a much more athletic team. Guys can get to places a lot quicker than, guys last year. And that's not taking anything away from last year's team. They were 12th in the league in defense, and that's pretty impressive for a team that didn't have the athletes that the Bulls have this year. They have upgraded their roster 100%. You've got guys now that can make that extra slide. That's what we saw last year. You know, guys were not able to make that extra slide at them to stop dribble penetration. Now you got guys that, and especially in these first 2 preseason games, you've seen guys be able to get to spots quickly, cut off drives, then be able to rotate out the three-point shooters and contest shots. That's one of the areas I've been mostly impressed with these first 2 games is their ability to get out to shooters and get a hand up and contest shots. No wide open threes. You didn't see these in the first 2 games, and I really think you're going to see that all season with this team.
The expectations seem higher for Billy Donovan, especially at the defensive end. We know that they can score just because they're athletic and they can run. But the defensive expectation has been set a little bit higher by Billy Donovan and the coaching staff because I think this is a team that wants to turn their defense into a lot more efficient offense this year.
Well, and you also got to remember, too, Adam, it's much more competitive now. You got guys on the bench that, like Javonte Green, Kobe White's going to be coming off the bench, Caruso. These guys are hungry to play minutes. And if Billy Donovan, if the starters are not doing what they're supposed to do, then Billy Donovan can insert any of those guys to bring up the defensive intensity, and he will not hesitate. And that's what you want to see. You want to see good competition between the starters and the reserves because that only makes the starters better. It holds everybody accountable. It holds from 1 to 12. Everyone's accountable for their job. So, and it's contagious. And you see it in the first 2 preseason games. Guys are getting where they're supposed to be, getting steals. They're having fun. They're seeing that the defense can create scoring opportunities on the break, which all this team wants to do is get out and run. So they've been able to kind of flow in from defense to offense very effortlessly because of their defense.
I think that's what separated teams like Milwaukee from the rest of the pack in the Eastern Conference last year. Remember, Milwaukee's been one of the best defensive teams for a good chunk of time now. The last few years, they've been top 5 more often than not, while still being top 5 offensively. But a lot of that is because we see knockaways. Drew Holiday knocks the ball away, and Giannis runs the floor. It was in the finals. One of the biggest plays of the finals came off defensive transition. So I think Billy Donovan, who is a very good defensive coach in Oklahoma City, understands how important that's going to be in a very competitive top of the Eastern Conference this year.
Well, you got to have balance. You know, you look at the teams that go deep in the playoffs, they're very good offensively and they're very good defensively. You know, the teams who are good offensively but not good defensively maybe get to the first round and they disappear. So if you want to get past the first round and get deep into the playoffs, you've got to be a team that is high level on both ends. And I think this year, you know, this team is really showing, at least in the early going, their commitment to defense. You see guys like Vooch. Last year, Vooch, you know, when he was in Orlando, you could tell, like, okay, we just need you to score and rebound. We're not worried about pick and roll defense. But you've seen here in the first 2 preseason games, he's getting up on the screen. He's rotating over, and that's really, really good to see.
I think this is a roster that is starting to understand a little bit more. There's a lot of guys who've been around, and for a player like Zach LaVine, to be on the Olympic roster and win a gold medal, but have to earn his minutes on the defensive end of the floor, to see guys like DeMar DeRozan and Lonzo Ball who create such great stuff offensively through their defense, I think this is a big year for Zach LaVine. He talked about exactly what you said the other night. Billy Donovan showed the team where the last few NBA champions, the handful of NBA champions, have been offensively and defensively. I think a player like Zach LaVine is really excited about this year because he's beginning to understand those concepts better.
Well, we saw Zach's maturation last year as he became the Bulls leader, you know, and through good times and difficult times, he was the main guy every single night. He came to play, and he proved that he's an elite player in this league, an all-star caliber player, as he made his first all-star team last year. But last year, he was forced to do everything. You know, he was forced to get his offense, get his teammates' offense in, and to really get them at a pace where the Bulls could compete. Because if Zach's not scoring last year, the Bulls lose a lot of games. You know, he kept the Bulls in games on a nightly basis. But this year, he doesn't have to do that. He can be a much more efficient scorer. I thought the Olympic experience helped him because, like you said, in order to get on the floor, you got to play defense. We know you can score, but we got a ton of scores. But we need you to defend. And I thought he did a great job getting over screens. I thought he did a great job of, you know, playing man-to-man defense full court, moving his feet, and using his athleticism. because there's no reason why Zach LaVine can't be a elite two-way player with his athleticism. He should be able to get 2 steals a game, play passing lanes, get out in transition. He's that good of an athlete. He's got Michael Jordan athleticism. And people, they may laugh when I say that. He's not MJ, but he's got Michael Jordan athleticism, and there's no reason why he can't be an elite two-way player in this league.
Yeah, Stacey, if you say that, that carries a lot of weight. And I know you spent a lot of time in those practice sessions with MJ and how competitive he was there, and that really carried over into games. It's tough, I would imagine, though, as you're watching this virtual open practice presented to us by American Express. You're not going to get a lot of intensity over the course of the season, day in, day out at practice, just because there are, as you said, there's so many games. It's a compacted schedule. So how do guys stay fresh? And what do they take away from these sessions when you're sitting in there, when AK's sitting in there, when the coaching staff is watching? What are you trying to take away from these sessions?
Well, first of all, the main thing is health. You know, you want to stay healthy, you know, because there's going to be a lot of games. We got a lot of games in the first couple of months. And it's gonna be trying and testing, and then you got veteran players. You got DeMar Rosen, double-digit experience in the league. He's gonna be asked to play some heavy minutes. Vooch's gonna ask to play some heavy minutes, so you're gonna have to back off those a little bit. Billy's done a great job since he's been here doing that. I think when you look at the younger players like Patrick Williams and Kobe White. Those guys have to get in the gym. They have to continue to work. They've got to continue to watch film to get better. And now you look at the roster that's been set by AK, Mark, and JJ Polk. This is a team that can surprise a lot of people in the Eastern Conference.
Stacey, I'm glad we got a look at this open practice, get a look at some of the guys, how they interact. Clearly, there's a good chemistry here. Troy's coming off a game, lighter day. Take us through today's practice and what you felt.
Just after a game, you want to take it precautiously, especially when you have guys playing big minutes and, we're getting up and down. That was the first preseason game, so we definitely want to let our bodies, get used to the tempo of the game, all that type of stuff. So to have 2, heavy back-to-back days probably isn't the most healthiest thing, and, that's a good job by Coach by kind of recognizing that and, taking care of us as players. So yeah.
Impressive performance in the preseason debut. What led to the success against the Cavaliers right out of the gate?
I feel like the first thing you notice is the unselfishness. We have a great group of guys that just want to move the ball. Even yesterday, it was so funny. We had a play with DeMar, Zoe, and Zach, and they overpassed it, So it's just the unselfishness, and I feel like you can see the willingness to win. We just got to stay level-headed and keep on working at it. So I definitely think that was the funnest part of it.
I know you spent time with the team, obviously, last year, but a new-look roster now. What are you looking forward to most with the new group?
I don't know. I think I'm ready for the regular season. I think that's the biggest thing for me is just being able to really concrete stuff and really get into action and play for something. Preseason is really dope and we get a lot of opportunity, but when you really get to October 22nd, that's the night that everybody's waiting on. So.
Well, Stacey, we're less than a week away from opening night in Detroit. Woo! My man, I cannot wait. What are you pumped about when we hit the road for the regular season?
Well, it's one game at a time. What I've seen in preseason has got me hyped. I was hyped when they brought all these players in over the summer. I couldn't wait. I haven't been this excited since Derrick Rose was drafted. So, I'm looking forward to it. I think we're going to surprise a lot of people, a lot of the critics. It's funny, in the summer, you listen to the critics, they have us, ranked 10th or 11th in the Eastern Conference. You hear it's the same people that was talking trash about the Bulls now are on the bandwagon. Oh, this could be the surprise team. They made calls teams right. So it's so funny listening to how all the national pundits flip so quickly. But the people here in Chicago, the people in the organization, the coaching staff, the players, everybody, us, we believe in this team. We know how good this team is going to be, and I'm really looking forward to this season. I think we're going to shock a lot of people.
Stacey and I will be with you for the start of the regular season. Thanks for joining us in this virtual open practice presented to us by American Express.
Don't leave home without it.
Thanks for watching. For more videos, click here.